Welcome to Jewels of the Trade. In this video, I'll be showing my jade haul from the 2025 Fall Denver Gem Shows, as well as some other unique pieces of jade rough that have never been shown on the channel before. If you're watching this video after the live stream, be sure to check out the timestamps in the description below to hone in on a specific subtopic. I have a huge announcement for the jade community, especially sellers, appraisers, and gemologists in the jewelry industry. Lotus Gemology's book, Broken Bangled, The Blender Besmirched History of Jade Nomenclature, is now available as a free PDF download. I've included the link in the video description. I'm sharing this because I personally love the book. I've read it. I recommend it. It really tackles like the Fei Choi nomenclature and some of the more confusing history surrounding the terms Jadeite and Nephrite. Why do we call both jade? All of those questions and more are answered in this book. Lotus Gemology is no longer going to be printing this book. They want it to be available to sort of start an international conversation about jade nomenclature for better clarity when selling to customers. So please, please, please check out the link in the video description and read the book. You can see it's not a long book. Like, it's a short read. It's really quick. You can knock it out in like an hour. I mean, it's really a short read, maybe 2 hours. I don't know how fast you read, but I highly recommend it. And before we get started, I also want to show off my new earrings that I picked up at the Denver Gem Shows from Shane Zach of Freshwater Jade. These are Guatemalan, so they go really well with my growing collection of Guatemalan Jade that I've been building since Hun'r and I visited Hacienda Santiago last November. Who all is in the chat? Say hi in the live chat and let me know, what do you do with your rough jade? Do you carve it? Do you display it in your home? Do you gift rough jade to friends and loved ones? Let me know. So let's get started with this piece. Hun'r was really excited about this acquisition, so I wanted to show it first. This is Guatemalan Blue Jade Rough from Yaxtun Minerals, who is featured in the Denver Gem Shows video. You can watch that via the link in the description below. Only one side of this stone is polished, so it's a bit of a mystery what the rest of the rock will look like inside. Often, buying rough jade is a gamble for this reason. You don't really know what the material is going to be like until you start cutting into it. But one of the things that carvers look for when buying jade rough is translucency, which they can see by using a high-powered flashlight like this one. In fact, when you walk by any of the jade booths at any of the gem shows, you will likely see groups of people huddled around jade rough with a flashlight. The flashlight tells you about more than just the translucency, though. It can also reveal fractures inside the stone. When you're examining jade rough with the light, you can actually tell if there's a fracture because it'll stop the light. Like, it creates kind of a wall. So if you see, the light emanates out into the stone. And in fact, jade has a very distinct appearance when lit with a flashlight that can help with identification. For instance, like serpentine has a different look when you shine a light through it. But you can see how the light spreads and feathers out. When there's a fracture, it's as if the light is hitting a wall, almost like it's a line that stops the light from spreading out. So this jade rough does have fracture. Let's take a look. Let's see. Aha. Let's take a look at the chat and see what everybody is saying. Mark says hi. Hi, Mark. Glad to have you. Excited that you're here. Mason K is here. Hello, Chris and Jeff Mason from Mason K. Oh my goodness, so much activity in the chat already. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's take a look at some Big Sur Jade. This is Big Sur Nephrite from Justin Jade. I picked up quite a few pieces from him while I was in Denver. This one is the largest and has the least translucency of the group. The owner of Justin Jade, Justin Barrett, has been featured on this channel many times. He actually dives into the water and prospects for jade in California's marine sources around Big Sur, which is a town on the central coast. I did want to mention, if you haven't seen the Monterey Bay Jade Festival video from this year, you absolutely have to watch it, especially if you have any interest in Big Sur Jade or California Nephrites at all, because in that video, we actually take you to Justin's workshop and you can actually see what a jade carving shop looks like on the inside. It's very exciting. I highly recommend it. That link is also below. This one is one of my favorites because of the pattern, the translucency, and the green color. And to be honest, the video, it just doesn't quite do it justice. Like, I think it just looks a lot better in person, look how cool it is. I've been kind of thinking of maybe working with jade a little bit, like not carving it, but maybe just kind of learning how to polish it and stuff. But Justin like sold me these stones and I'm kind of afraid to mess with them because I think they look so perfect as is. So I have to get over that. Jade diving is an integral part of Central California's culture. When we travel to Monterey for the Jade Fest, we notice that everyone wears jade around town. Like we see jade at Trader Joe's, we see it at restaurants, like basically everywhere that we go. Justin Barrett's assistant, Adrian, who you saw in the Monterey Bay Jade Festival video, has a huge collection of jade. And when I asked her like how she got into jade, she said it was just because she grew up there. It's just a part of their lives. This is the same stone we've been looking at, just close up. We'll take a look at different rinds and finishes in Big Sur Jade here in a minute. These stones were all ocean sculpted, but the polish probably like maybe comes from being tumbled afterwards. If you have any jade rough in your collection, be sure to join the Jot Discord, a group chat for jade enthusiasts around the globe and a source of information by subtopic. Our Big Sur Jade thread has links, videos, and images of material like this to help you learn about and identify California nephrite. You can share photos from your collection and discuss jade topics with jade collectors, carvers, researchers, sellers, and more. So this one, it looks better. It looks better in person. It really does. I think it's a really cool stone. It might be a lower quality stone. So as you can see, it's not polished. Usually, Big Sur Jade comes out of the water with at least some polish because it's polished by sand and other like abrasives in the ocean. The harder the jade is, the higher a polish it can take. So I'm actually very curious as to how oil will affect this stone. And I have a little bit of oil here to try it out and see if it makes a difference. So I actually called my friend Marco Mazza, who was on the channel recently, and I asked him, I was like, how do you oil jade? I've actually never done it. And he said to take a little bit of oil and like a toothbrush and then brush the oil onto the stone and then use just like a really soft cloth. I know, I look like such an amateur doing this. And then just kind of spread the oil around so you can kind of see, do you see what a difference it makes to have the oil? A lot of times, I don't know how common it is, but a lot of times when you buy jade rough, it might have a little bit of oil on it. Typically what I think they use is like food grade mineral oil. And Marco was telling me that the reason for that is because it's not going to have, like people won't have an allergic reaction to it. So like what I just used was coconut oil. So if I were going to sell this, which I'm not going to because it's mine and I'm keeping it, if I were going to sell this, I wouldn't want to use coconut oil, right? Because if somebody's allergic to coconut and then they touch the stone, they might have a reaction to it. So it looks a lot better with the oil on it, honestly. So this, I think, gives you kind of a better idea of how it would look if it were more polished too. And maybe when you have a lower quality Big Sur Jade, maybe after it's polished, you might want to put a little bit of oil on it. A lot of people do oil their jade every so often. A lot of times when you buy Burmese Jadeite jade, it has like a thin coating of beeswax on the surface. And over time, that does eventually come off, which is why we always encourage people to rub their jade and to touch it, because then your skin oils actually replace that beeswax coating. So it's not unusual. I would say the way this stone looked before I oiled it, like this is not normally what jade looks like before it's been oiled. Like this is not the concern you have to have. Like if your beeswax comes off or if your oil comes off, that it's going to look like this. Keep in mind, this is a rough stone. And also keep in mind too, even though these are beautiful and I do love them, like this is not gem grade jade, right? Like it can still be made into jewelry. It's great carving material. Well, I don't know if it's great carving material. A lot of the people who carve it say it's a bit finicky, but it's beloved. It's beloved carving material, but it's still not quite like it's not the type of stone that you would necessarily cab and put in like an engagement ring for everyday wear, if that makes sense. You certainly could. Nephrite is tough enough, but so you're going to have different qualities of jade that are going to have different appearances. Like this stone, my Guatemalan Jade cab has no beeswax on it. It just kind of depends. So keep that in mind. Speaking of Marco Mazza, you guys remember him. He came on the channel a couple of months ago to talk about the challenges of jade diving. He does not sell Rough Jade, only finished goods, but he kindly sent over these photos to share with the channel to help you guys identify finishes and rinds in Big Sur Jade. So this is Vulcan Jade, which is when the Big Sur Jade has been colored by iron, giving it a red-brown rind. This coloration doesn't go very deep and can be easily polished off. Now this, still Big Sur Jade, but it has a silver rind. So, it does have a silver rind. It's not all over. You can see the green showing through. Without the rind, this stone would likely be all green. So if you were to polish that silver away off the top, it's probably a completely green stone. As Justin explained in the Denver Gem Shows video that dropped recently, sometimes the rind of the Big Sur Nephrite is not red, like the river cobbles coming out of Siberia or the Vulcan Jade we saw before. It's this gray color because that secondary coloration actually comes from manganese as opposed to iron, which causes the red rind. So it's actually new information to me. Like I just found out in Denver that Big Sur Jade can have a rind that's not red. So I wanted to share that with the channel. This is Big Sur Jade that doesn't have a rind. It's just black jade. So you can kind of see the difference between like the silver rind, which is that dark gray color, and then truly black jade that doesn't have a rind. So just so you know, the black Big Sur Jade tends to be less desirable and therefore less valuable. Obviously, this is still a really cool stone though. This is an example of Big Sur Jade that has kind of a matte finish, like it's a natural polish or an ocean finish, meaning it came out of the water with this finish. So Marco didn't like do anything additional to this stone to give it that look, that luster. So you can see it's not very reflective. It's not a very high polish, which indicates that it might be a softer stone. And then in very rare cases, harder Big Sur Jades like this one take a much higher polish. See the reflection? Like you can tell it's much higher. Marco told me that this is actually an exceptionally high polish for an ocean cobble. So it almost looks like it was polished after the fact, but this is in fact natural. Let's check the chat. Let's see what everybody's saying. Here, I'll show off one of my ocean cobbles to look at while we catch. Oh my goodness. Okay, so yeah, Mark, we've talked about this in the Discord before. I think you've actually mentioned this before, the MCT coconut oil. I feel like if you're the one who's going to be touching it, and you know that you're not allergic to coconut oil, or MCT oil or whatever, just use what you have, I have olive oil, but I thought, well, the olive oil is probably a little too expensive to use on the cobble. So that's why I chose coconut oil. But yeah, I figure just anything that you have on hand that's not colored, right? That doesn't have like a hue to it. I guess olive oil would have a hue. So maybe you don't want to do olive oil. Yeah. MCT oil is a good idea. Mineral oil, stuff like that. Luke. Hey, Luke. Good to see you. Oddly enough, he says Big Sur Jade was harder for him to cut than any other nephrite or jadeite because the stuff is really hard. Yeah, I think like most jade, you have a range. And it actually kind of bothers me when people say, well, nephrite's only a 5 to 6 on the Mohs scale, because that is not always true. Like you have a wider range of hardness in nephrite jade, with some nephrites being up to a 7. So yeah, I think it's important to remember that range. And while you are going to have lower hardness Big Sur Jades, you might have higher hardness Big Sur Jades. And I know that it is challenging to cut too because of its fibrous nature, and that can vary from specimen to specimen too coming out of Big Sur. So not all Big Sur Jade is the same. I would say there's probably no locale where all the jade coming out of that locale is the same. Like you're just going to have variation. Would it be preferable to keep the red rind on? Yes, in some cases, Vulcan Jades will actually sell for a higher price as a specimen with the red rind. That is a great question. You could use a corner of them. Woohoo, finally caught another live stream. Looks like it could be polished up quite nicely. I agree. Wow, lots of activity in the chat. Let's take a look at a pseudomorph. I'm very excited to show this. This is a Jade After Quartz pseudomorph given to me by my friend Nathan of Sonoran Jade. You guys have probably seen him in the Discord, and he was also featured in our video in Guatemala, and he was in Denver with us. He shows up all over the channel. So a pseudomorph is a crystal consisting of one mineral but having the form of another. So in this case, this was originally a quartz crystal, and then the quartz was later replaced by nephrite jade. So chemically, this is absolutely nephrite jade. Like this is nephrite jade that you're looking at. It's just in the shape of quartz. This is not common. But you will occasionally see pseudomorphs in specimens from Wyoming, where not only jade after quartz pseudomorphs occur, but the quartz included jades as well, because the quartz and the jade form so close together in Wyoming. And as far as I know, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If you know something different, tell me in the comments. As far as I know, the only real pseudomorphs you see in jade are the jade after quartz pseudomorphs, and I'm pretty sure they only come from Wyoming. If I'm wrong, tell me. I would definitely like to know. My friend Nathan from Sonoran Jade also brought me this in Denver. This is Jadeite Jade from Washington. So, okay, I don't know if you realize that that's like a really big deal. You've probably heard of Washington Jade before, so you might be wondering, Jordan, like, why is this significant? Because the jade you've seen from Washington is in fact Nephrite Jade, not Jadeite Jade. I even had Rodney and Nathaniel Cook from Washington Jade on the channel to talk about their blue cat's eye from Washington State, which is Nephrite Jade. Only very recently was Jadeite Jade discovered in Washington. I didn't hear about it until last year. And to my knowledge, no gem quality Jadeite Jade has been discovered there yet. But you never know what could turn up. So this is not jade. I say it's jade adjacent, but it is not jade. My friend Carter Stay from Keycap Quarry brought me this specimen of actinolite crystals in quartz when I saw him in Denver. The green needles that you see are actinolite, which is one of the minerals that makes up nephrite jade when it's microcrystalline and aggregated. So basically, if you had way smaller actinolite crystals all smushed together, it would be nephrite jade. But actinolite itself is not nephrite. I've actually shown tremolite on the channel, and we don't have to get into this now unless you guys want like a whole spiel on it. I've talked about this in other videos. But tremolite jade, tremolite crystals, when they are microscopic and compacted together, can also be nephrite jade. And in fact, actinolite by itself is usually not considered nephrite jade. It usually has to be intermixed with tremolite, or actinolite and tremolite share a solid solution. So like you can have a chemical or like a mineral that is between actinolite and tremolite. Like it's kind of both minerals. And so nephrite jade can be made of that too. But when you have white jade, like coming out of China and Russia and Korea, that's almost pure tremolite. So that's usually jade that has no or very, very little actinolite in it. So just one of those nerdy things that you guys might want to talk more about, but I do cover it in other videos as well. This is super unrelated to jade, but also very cool. Carter gave me this small gag crystal, which is a synthetic gemstone manufactured for industrial purposes and occasionally sold as a simulant for other gems. When I was doing my studies at GIA, they actually warned us about YAGs, which are yttrium aluminum garnet, and then GAGs, this gadolinium gallium garnet, and other common gem simulants. But this was the first time I had ever seen one that wasn't posing as something else. So you can actually see Carter's keyboard keycaps made from this material at keycapquarry.com. Let's check the chat. Let's see. Jade from Ohio. I don't think there's jade in Ohio, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm going to show some jade in Idaho soon. And maybe there's jade in Ohio. I don't know. That's an exciting thought. I hope there is jade in Ohio. Don Juan says, makes you respect the people who can tell from eye a lot more when you know how many variants there are. Yeah. And in fact, when you go to the Jade Festival, you meet people who they understand all of these like complex details of jade. And I will say, identifying jade in person is so much easier than looking at a photo or video. And we are going to talk more about that here shortly. But first, I want to talk about Wyoming jade. As you guys probably saw in the Denver Gem Shows video, Hun'r went to Wyoming with Shane Zach of Freshwater Jade, Justin Barrett of Justin Jade, and our friend Austin from Wisconsin's Blue Bead and Rock Shop. And they actually prospected for jade in Wyoming, which is crazy. So you can actually see, he took a drone, you can see the footage, you can see the pieces that they found there. But I want to show you close up some of the specimens that he brought home. So wind slicks, also called ventifacts, are specimens that have been polished naturally by wind and sand over a long period of time and therefore have no rind. This is a topic that Shane and I covered in another live video. I've linked to it below. It's called Ask a Jade Carver, Ventifacts, Pseudomorphs, and more. So Hun'r picked up these slicks while he was jade hunting in Wyoming with friends. One of these slicks is not jade. Can you tell which one it is? I bet you can. This one is not jade. You can tell upon closer inspection by its appearance and color, as well as its translucency. I'm not sure what this is, but Hun'r recalled it was very difficult to distinguish jade from other stones while he was there. And in fact, let me show you that original clip one more time so that you can kind of see, because it'll stand out to you now. Now that you're looking at it, that stone's going to stand out as not jade because it doesn't look green at all and the others look green. But keep in mind, this is in studio lighting. That is not the lighting conditions that you have when you're just like walking around in Wyoming looking for stones. So they do kind of blend and look more similar to each other and to other rocks when you're just like out in the wilderness prospecting. This is a small jade slick that Hun'r found that shows a little bit of green translucency. None of the specimens that he found were gem quality, nor do they have any real value at all. I don't think there's a market for material like this when it's this small. However, high quality slicks often aren't cut into gemstones anyways, as they tend to be quite valuable as specimens and sell to a niche collector's market. But of course, those can be really hard to find, and Hun'r did not find one. This is the best one of the bunch. It's greener. It has a tighter structure, more translucency. I'll show that in a second. I'm actually kind of thinking of turning this into a pendant. It's not valuable, but it's smooth. Look at that. Like, I had a hard time taking footage of the translucency because it lights up as soon as you shine a light on it. Like, it was blinding. Like, you couldn't even really see the stone because of how much translucency it has. But it has this like greasy wind polished luster, and I just like it. It's definitely the best. I'll show the group clip again here, so you can see it's the one on the right. Like, it has a better texture. It definitely stands out as the jadiest of the rest of them. Do you think this is jade? You'll know as soon as I put it under a light. Look at that. See that? Quartz. You can tell by the appearance of the translucency that this is not jade. Also, it's straight brown. It's not green at all. This is an agate that Hun'r tells me is very common in Wyoming, waiting in the brush to trick jade hunters. But it is very obviously not jade once you shine the light on it. It's a cool stone. It's in my yard right now. So none of these are jade, but Hun'r saw a lot of these rocks while he was in Wyoming. They are worthless. They have absolutely no value. Picture Hun'r, 6'3", walking around for hours, not really knowing what he's looking for because he's never done this before, with astigmatism, mind you, trying to find jade. You can imagine why he didn't have a lot of great luck in his search, because a lot of the rocks just start to look alike after a while. So here's some other stones that he came across. Some calcite, quartz, agate, other things that I don't know what they are. I can't identify. They're not gemstone rocks. They're just rocks. They have no value, but they're cool. So we put them in the garden. I mean, they're not worth anything, but they're neat. So let's check the chat. There's a lot going on here. Luke wants to build a house that is completely made out of jade. Same. Yes. Sign me up. All about it. Let's see what else. Luke, that's a goal and a half. You guys crack me up. Oh my goodness. And then he says, I'm pretty sure it would be tornado, earthquake, and hurricane proof. Yeah, I guess it would. I was thinking don't drop it on tile, but you don't drop a house on tile. So I guess it would be fine. This one here, this could maybe fool a jade hunter into thinking it's Wyoming sage. Have you guys seen the Wyoming sage jade? I don't have a ton of it on this channel, but this is definitely not jade. You can tell by the texture. You can tell by just everything about it, but it is the same color. It's kind of the same color as Wyoming sage. This also probably wouldn't fool anyone, but it's kind of green, so I wanted to show it. This is also out in the Wyoming wilderness. You might stumble upon it if you're jade hunting. It might be epidote. I'm not sure. If anybody knows what this is, let me know in the comments. It is a non-jade. I repeat, this is not jade. This is not jade, but it is from Wyoming. And then Hun'r did not find this one. This is Epidote from our friend Austin from Wisconsin's Blue Bead and Rock Shop. This is also a slick, and it could maybe fool a jade hunter. Like, especially like he obviously cut this. So when you just saw the outside of it, the cinder, or yeah, it's a cinder, then you might it looks very jadey from the outside. So if you watch the Denver Gem Shows video, you can hear Austin himself explain how he knows that this isn't jade. You can kind of see the crystals in it, and some of the coloration I think is indicative that it's not jade. They really honestly had to slice into it though to know for sure. Coming back to jade, this is a slab in my collection from my friend Nathan of Sonoran Jade. It is Nephrite jade from Bitch Creek in Idaho. I don't have much more information to offer you. I just really like to say that it's Bitch Creek Jade. This is Nephrite Jade from Switzerland. Very rare. Both Nephrite Jade and Jadeite Jade were used by prehistoric peoples in the Alpine region. So jade has a very long history there in the form of tools, weapons, and utensils. Europe is not a noteworthy producer of either jade, though I do think there is some active mining in Italy for omphacite. And if you join the Discord, there's actually quite a bit of information in there about some of the mining that's going on for the omphacite jade in Italy. So that's pretty exciting. And I've shown some of the Piedmont Valley Italian omphacite on this channel before as well. Let's see. Luke, it's always a bummer when you show people that what they have is not jade, and then they get mad at you. Shane said it really well in our collaborative video on identifying rough jade. He said when you have a stone, you want it to be jade. The Chinese have long said all rocks want to be jade. You want your stone to be jade. I get it. It's tough though. Like it's hard to identify it. And if it's not very valuable, it probably doesn't warrant the expensive testing, and it can be kind of hard to tell. And so there are ways to identify some specimens based on their appearance, but sometimes they straight up just have to be tested. And actually, to be conclusive, to know for sure, and especially if it's valuable, you need to have it tested to know for sure, even when it's in the rough. But I mean, stuff like this is obviously Guatemalan Jadeite jade. Sometimes you see pieces and you're like, this is definitely jade. There's no doubt. So, and I think watching this channel and seeing a bunch of specimens, what they look like and how they look under different lighting conditions and stuff like that, like it definitely helps too. Don says it's green. Right, it's green. It must be jade. No. This piece in my collection brings me a lot of joy. This is Australian black nephrite jade. I actually think this is old cowl material. A friend of the channel actually saw my video collab with Shane Zach of Freshwater Jade on the topic of rough jade identification a few years ago, and sent him some samples of this material, asking that Shane share some of the samples with me. It was funny because Shane and I live like 11 hours away from each other. And even though we are friends and we do see each other, we were very tickled by this subscriber's optimism that we would cross paths. Because, I mean, you don't always know that people are going to see each other in person. We, in fact, did cross paths, and Shane passed along these samples to me. And of course, we've seen each other many times since then. But it just goes to show, I think, how small the world of jade is and how the internet connects jade people together from all over the world. This is a close-up of some of the green at the end of this black jade material. I really do love this stone and the story behind it, how it traveled from Australia all the way to Wisconsin and then to California before it came home with me. So this piece, the Korean. I will say, this probably looks yellower in the video than it does in real life. Here, I have it. I have it on hand. Okay, it looks, okay. It just looks yellow on the video. This is not technically white jade. I guess it's like a really light green or a really light yellow jade. But it's white-ish. It's in like it's still kind of in the category of white jade. So gem quality white nephrite jade is known to come from China, Russia, and South Korea. There is a lot of Korean white jade on the Chinese market, but it rarely hits the US. Unfortunately, a lot of Korean jade is sold as Chinese jade on the Chinese market. It's usually identified, though, by its waxy luster. Like I said, this isn't technically white. It's light green or like a light yellow green, but Korean white jade can be true white. So these two look pretty different side by side, but would you be able to tell the difference in person? Do you think you'd be able to tell which one is Nephrite jade and which one is Jadeite jade? And actually, if you saw them separately, do you think you'd be able to identify them? So they both have a light green hue, and neither one has been polished. They're polished a little bit, but they're not high polished. So that makes it kind of hard to tell too. Are you ready? This is how you can identify that the specimen is Jadeite jade. I mean, I guess it does just look like Jadeite jade, so a trained eye would recognize it. But if you're looking for specific characteristics, if you're still learning, this slab just so happens to have salt or sugar, which we've talked a lot about on this channel, but frankly, it's hard to find good examples of this. So do you see the tiny crystal faces that are reflecting light? This is what we call salt. It's a result of Jadeite jade's granular structure. It's basically where like the saw has sliced through those crystals and it's left like flat crystal faces. So this effect is only present in Jadeite jade, not Nephrite jade. And it's only present in Jadeite jade that has large enough crystal sizes for this to be visible without magnification. So your higher quality, higher translucency jades actually won't have it, which is honestly why it's been really hard for me to find examples to show on the channel. And I do have some examples, but honestly, this might be the best example of salt that I've been able to show. It's tough because it's not a finished piece. And to be honest, I know finished pieces can have salt. I think because of the quality of material that I normally see, I don't normally see it. I don't normally come across it. But if I ever do, I promise I'll take video and I promise I'll put it on the channel. So overall, I would say color and texture are strongly indicative that this is Burmese Jadeite jade. And the Nephrite jade slab that I showed earlier is too yellow to be Jadeite jade. Jadeite jade can be yellow near the rind especially, but it's definitely, you can see it's different. Like this isn't the same kind of yellow that Jadeite jade would be. I'm checking the chat. I'd love to have a full display of jade from around the world. I mean, if you watch enough of my videos, I think you'll see like quite a bit of jade from around the world. I'm still working on my collection. I would like to build a collection of like as many origins of jade as I can. And then eventually I do want to do a video where like literally just like as many origins as I can feature. The problem with that is I wouldn't want to let people think that, oh, this is Korean jade. That means all jade that looks like this is Korean. And if it doesn't look like this, it's not Korean, right? That is the potential problem I might face in creating that video. And so I would just have to be really, really clear that there is still like a really wide range in variation from each locale. And you can have pieces from different locales that look really similar. So I wouldn't want to accidentally mislead people into thinking that they can, like identify the origin based on the video. It would be fun. And I would love to show that off. And some stuff like the Swiss, I literally never see jade like this, so you are going to have, and even like the Guatemalan, like you are going to have jades that can be pretty easily diagnosed. Now I'm throwing things. The big Sur can be pretty easily like identified, like the origin can be pretty easily identified. So I guess I don't want to say the video wouldn't teach you how to identify origin. I would just have to have like a lot of samples, I think, for it to be really, really helpful. But I will say, if you make your way down the rabbit hole and watch a bunch of videos on my channel, you will get a feel, at the very least, for what Nephrite jade and what Jadeite jade look like, so that if you see it, you can kind of identify it. And then you'll get a feel for certain locales for sure. Because there's locales I have more of than others. Obviously, Burmese. I have more Burmese than anything on this channel. And then Guatemalan. And then I have a lot of like Canadian Nephrite. So, and actually, I need to show more Siberian. But if you look at the show videos, like the Tucson and Monterey show videos, and even the Denver show videos, you can get a really good feel for Siberian. Typically, like when you're looking at nephrite, this is my thing. If it's green nephrite jade and it's like really, really, really high quality, probably Siberian. Could be Chinese, could be Canadian, probably Siberian. So, oh yeah, Luke made a, it's really cool. You guys should check it out. He made a jade sphere, and it has a really huge mica inclusion in it, which I would love to show. That's another video I want to do. I want to show like all the different types of inclusions in jade, like mica and stuff like that. But it's been hard to like get samples that have really clear inclusions that I can capture on camera, because a lot of the high quality material, like really high quality material, like what Mason K sells, isn't going to have like really big mica inclusions or anything like that. So hope you dig deeper on white Siberian nephrite. Yeah, if I could get my hands on more white Siberian nephrite, we'd do a ton of videos on it. It's really hard to get in the US. Like there's not a lot of sources for it. I do show it quite a bit at the shows. Like there's definitely some white Siberian in this year's Monterey video. Yeah, check out the Tucson and Monterey videos, because they're going to have more Siberian, I think, than any other videos on my channel. And then my collab with Steven Sednick is actually, he showed some really great pieces in our collab. So if you type in Siberian Jade into YouTube, it'll for sure come up. So where were we? Oh yeah, I wanted to show this other piece of Burmese, because I have two. So I have this Burmese, and then I have this Burmese, and obviously they look really, really different. So I want to show this one up close. Overall, I would say, like, on this specimen, color and texture are strongly indicative that this is Burmese Jadeite Jade. Like, I don't really think you would confuse this with anything else. The Nephrite Jade slab that I showed earlier, like, that's, I think, I don't know. Let me show it again. I think I would know that this is Nephrite Jade. I think a lot of carvers would know that this is Nephrite Jade. I think this is a little bit harder to identify. I think, honestly, you could be kind of a novice and still know that this is Burmese Jadeite Jade, just from looking at it. I wanted to clarify too. I think it's important to note that the internet wants it to seem like there are like all these hard and fast rules for jade identification, and there really aren't. Jade can vary so much in color, texture, and even luster. And I'm speaking about rough here specifically. This is textbook jade because of its color, its texture, its rind. But not all specimens are so easy to identify. I think seeing jade is what helps you identify it. The problem is that a lot of material being sold as jade in person and online isn't jade. So it ends up skewing one's frame of reference. But if you see enough jade that's actually jade, like you do here on my channel, you'll definitely get a feel for it. And as always, test to know best. But when you're looking at inexpensive jades like this and rough jades like this, like I do think there's a lot of visual characteristics that can tell you what it is. I wanted to talk about photos and videos too. A photo is not enough. And I don't get this a lot, but I've seen a lot of people like on Reddit and Facebook and stuff, they'll take a picture of their jade and they'll take this like blurry, dark picture and then they'll post it to Reddit and be like, is this jade? And it's kind of like how we talked about earlier, like everybody wants their piece to be jade, right? But you can have a piece that is jade, and when you photograph it, it doesn't look like jade. It looks really different in photos. Inversely, you can have a piece that is not jade, and when you photograph it, it sure looks like jade. The photos are so misleading. The videos are so misleading. And to be honest, like most of the time when people are posting photos to Reddit, they're blurry. They're not lit very well. And then you get a whole bunch of people that probably don't know what they're talking about on Reddit being like, oh yeah, it's definitely jade, or no, it's not. And like, they don't know. they don't have any more information than what's in the photo. And the photo is not sufficient information to go off of. So as always, test to know best. If you think it might be valuable, send it in, especially if it's like jewelry, like gem quality. You can send it to Mason K and Mason K can test it for you. They're cheaper and faster than GIA. If you have a local jewelry store that you trust, you can take it to see them, and a gemologist can put your stone on a refractometer. Testing rough is more tricky. Like for instance, Mason K doesn't test rough, but like GIA does. So if you think it's valuable, you can send it in and you can have it tested. But I do want to discourage like sharing poor quality photos to Reddit and taking the internet's word for it, because the internet doesn't know. And it's really, really hard to determine if something is jade based on a photo. It's most of the time just impossible. This is Burmese Lavender Jadeite Jade Rough. This is a very pale lavender, but I honestly think once it's cut, I think it will polish out really well. Hun'r will probably turn this into a cab, and I think it will look really nice when he does. This still has saw marks on it from when it was cut, and you can see the natural rind on the edge. It's honestly, it's a great piece to have at shows and for educational purposes, which is why Hun'r hasn't cabbed it yet. He'll lose a lot of weight when he cabs it, partly because of that fracture, but he'll try to make the stone as big as he can without compromising its integrity. Carvers have to cut to the best use of the rough. As an art medium, jade is not like a canvas where the artist is limited by their own imagination. The stone itself limits the artist, and that's why so many jade pieces are one of a kind. It's also why it's hard to find specific colors and qualities in large sizes or in calibrated dimensions. Jade cabs are almost never calibrated because their shape is determined by the rough. The carver doesn't want to lose any more material than they have to. Why is testing rough more difficult than testing polished, finished pieces? Usually the size. I mean, I think just because, like, the type of equipment. Here, I'll look at you. Hello. So, like, if you guys have seen a refractometer is like a small tool. If you watch my recent video from the Denver Gem shows, I take you to Mason K and you can see the inside of Jeff's office where he does laboratory testing services, and you can see the machines that he uses. They're small. So I think a lot of times when rough is tested, and if somebody knows differently, you can tell me in the comments. I actually don't know that they just like put it in a machine and test it. I think they like slice off a piece and then test that piece. So size is definitely an issue. It's also the reason that Mason K doesn't test statuary. But Mason K is a jewelry company. They sell jewelry. And they do sell some statuary, but it's not their specialty. And so if you have cabs, bangles, beads, like carvings, Mason K can test all of that, and it's no problem. It's just, like a big rock. Mason K doesn't test the big rocks. GIA tests the big rocks. So you just have to deal with the headache of like shipping it, and then some companies will charge by the weight. So if it's a bigger piece, they'll charge more, which is why you might want to like cut off a smaller piece before you send it. So yeah, it's just different equipment, different expertise. Let's see. Not nephrite though. Yeah, so Mason K offers testing and valuation for Jadeite jade. So let's say you send in a piece of like a finished piece and you think it's Jadeite jade, it turns out to be nephrite jade. They'll be able to tell you that it's not Jadeite jade. But if it is nephrite jade, they won't be able to offer like valuation or anything on it. If it's something else, they won't be able probably to tell you. I mean, it's not that they couldn't, but they probably won't tell you what it is. Mason K, is that right? Like if somebody sends in a piece of quartz, I guess they would probably, I guess if it's easily identified, then they'll probably say like, oh, this is quartz, or oh, this is nephrite. But they won't offer valuation unless it's actually Jadeite jade, and they won't offer valuation unless it's natural Jadeite jade. So it has to be untreated. Wouldn't be able to tell you the composition. So Mason K, when they are testing a stone for identification, the first thing that they do is a refractometer. The refractometer tells you the refractive index, which is like one of the many things that you look at when identifying a stone. It's really easy to rule out Jadeite jade. If a stone doesn't have the refractive index of Jadeite jade, it's not Jadeite jade. So you can rule it out really easily and say, oh, this isn't jade. But it's not like a machine that you like put it in and it just like tells you everything that's in that piece, right? So it's important to understand there are limitations to equipment, and there's a lot of different types of equipment that do a lot of different things. So what Mason K uses is like a refractometer, a diffraction spectroscope, FTIR, which is a tabletop infrared spectrometer, stuff like that. Hold on one second, guys. I have to plug in my computer. I just now got a pop-up that said my computer's about to die. There we go. So yeah, so Mason K offers testing on Jadeite jade. That's like jewelry Jadeite jade, like smaller pieces. Your local jeweler, though, probably has a refractometer. If they have a gemologist on staff, and especially if they're an AGS store, so like if they have the American Gem Society credentials on their website, they'll have an in-house gemologist who has a refractometer. And the refractometer can usually tell you if something is Jadeite jade or nephrite jade or quartz. The reason that people send stones into Mason K usually is because it takes much more advanced equipment to detect the impregnation of polymer, wax, or resin. And that's like, it's like a very, very expensive machine that most gemologists, most jewelry stores aren't going to have, but Mason K does have. So if you were to, like, say, take your stone to your local jeweler, they put it on the refractometer and they say it's Jadeite Jade, then you might want to have it sent to Mason K to make sure that it doesn't have the polymer impregnation. Oh, okay. So they do. If it's not Jadeite Jade, they do tell you what it is. Okay. Well, that's exciting. That's fun. That makes it more exciting. I guess if, like, as long as they can tell, which Jeff's a gemologist, he can tell, right? He knows this stuff. So that's all I had for you today. Oh, no, wait, I did have one more. I have some Russian. So I've shown this piece on the channel before, back when it was bigger, but this is since it's been cut. So I just wanted to show it because it's one of my favorite pieces in my collection. I bought this from Shane at Freshwater Jade. It is Russian Jadeite Jade from the Khakhassia region. It has a unique mix of blue and green together. Shane has made some really incredible earrings with this Khakhassia material, and I know it's hard to get, so I'm kind of hoarding mine, and I have no plans to cut it anymore or let it go. I just love it, and I love showing it on the channel. So everyone, thank you for spending your Tuesday night with me. Please check out the links in the video description, and don't forget to download the free PDF for Broken Bangle, especially if you work in the trade. And I'll see you guys next time.